All right, welcome to this week's Points and Miles report here on Traveling on Everyday Spend. I'm trying to pull this up to me closer here. Sorry about that. There we go. All right. Okay, there we go. So welcome to this week. Doing this on a Saturday, a little bit different, probably not going to be the norm. Just a wild week to try to get some things done. So thank you for taking time to join me today, especially if you are a person that is into U.S. college football. My team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, just ended up beating Texas at home, so I'm happy to see that. Let's hit on a couple of items. Well, let's hit on one item for sure. Spirit Airlines, not unbelievably, is now gone bankrupt again. Now, they actually just got out of their bankruptcy not more than in March or May, I forget which month. And so for people that follow Spirit Airlines, obviously they had a problem of their expenditures. They just could not get their expenditures down. They ended up getting a lot of funding to get out of bankruptcy. They obviously fought off being acquired by anybody, but the problem is the same as it was when they went in. They could not control their expenditures. And no matter what money they threw at it, they just couldn't stop the bleeding. They had a projection this year, I think, of being a quarter billion, 250 million on the profit. And by quarter two, they were 200 million in the hole. So they're going to go back in, do it again, and see if they can get it right. They didn't really do a comprehensive, clearly, option. And we were seeing this through all of the different news that came out every single week, from their comments to the people that I think it was related to the people that worked on the airplanes, the stewardesses and the stewards, as far as how they evaluate continuing to work there. And so they're going to have a lot of work to do. I think that combination of this failure, essentially, and now having to go back into bankruptcy at the same time when Frontier is taking over routes that they had and really have done an excellent job of building their loyalty through their credit card program, as well as trying to get to, let's say, almost semi-mainstream, is going to put Spirit in a lot of trouble of being successful overall. They're going to lose a lot of confidence from the people that were flying with them. But I'm curious of what you all are thinking about Spirit and if you've flown them. I had considered trying to take a flight for them just to see what it was like. And this obviously hurts for a person that was even willing to try it, to see how this ended up playing out. But I'm curious of you all's thoughts. So just wanted to kind of start with that. I just find that fascinating. I think it's the quickest I've seen any company, let alone an airline, to get out of a bankruptcy, to go right back in that fast. It's just not something I've seen. Maybe a restaurant or two, but that's about it. So I want to say good afternoon to Mike Newland. Appreciate you stopping in, sir. And to Sleepy Rod, thanks for stopping in. Really appreciate it. And Mr. Kohul, thank you. Good afternoon to you as well. And then, to make sure I'm saying this, Epiben. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Epiben 1. Thanks for stopping in. Transfer or transfer not on Bilt rent day, 100% transfer bonus with platinum status. Now, that is a question I have for you. I thought, and what I was going to be talking about with Bilt was that it is dynamic. I'm gold, and I only got 40%. And from what I had read and seen, that it wasn't an automatic. Now, maybe as platinum you do. I did not think that was the case. So if that is the case, I appreciate you raising it. That I am very down on Bilt overall, but I applaud anyone that got the redemption rate that they were looking for. So thanks for raising that. It's something that I was not aware that anyone had an automatic 100%, but it would make sense that the platinum ones did, but I didn't see that. And so, Mike, we need Spirit to help keep prices down on the legacy carriers. Obviously, losing anybody that is providing. I mean, it's interesting that that Spirit, I think, was number 8. I think the 8th largest in the United States, and I think they did 44 million passengers. I mean, that's a lot for an airline that has had such a bad reputation. But yes, we need those low cost carriers for to try to keep the cost down. I just think that this may be a case this time where I'll be curious of how much money people are going to be willing to throw and take a risk on Spirit, and can they stay there or do they get acquired? I almost feel like they've got a very good chance of getting acquired through this process. It was so close last time, but I hope for the same thing too. I really agree with that. Let's see. And cheap way to fly to South America. My cheapest redemption to date, $89 plus taxes round trip from that Den program from Den to Colombia when they used to fly to Denver. Man, rest in peace. Yeah, I just don't know what's going to happen with them. It's going to be interesting. And I see you said during COVID. That's probably that makes a lot of sense, that especially during that period of time. But thanks for sharing that. So just wanted to kind of start off that. I think that's kind of a bit newer news and something I definitely found interesting. But let's see what we can get into for today on things. Now, as far as the credit card offers, we kind of hit a lull at this point, but I think that we're probably going to see this jump back up probably in the next week or so as we go into September, because I think we're going to probably be back on that cycle that we've seen where we've got these 2 Marriott cards for American Express. I think it's time for Hilton to probably come back in about 2 to 3 weeks. I think it's definitely almost time for the cycle for Delta to come back in again. And so we've definitely seen this a very cyclical type of situation for these. So we're kind of in the lull here as we get to the end of the month. But these 2 Marriott cards are excellent opportunities, but we still have till September 24th for that. Now, as far as the Alaska Atmos, what we did see last week, we talked about the fact that you could go on the Bank of America site and still see the quote unquote old version of the card. And you had to go to the Alaska Airlines page to be able to see the new Atmos Ascent card. That has been cleaned up now. You only see the new cards on Bank of America's website. And I will end up saying that, well, I'll touch on something in a moment with that. So we still have the 80,000 points for the business card, as well as the Ascent card, which is the $95 one that used to be the personal brand. And then we have the Summit card, which obviously is the flagship card at the $395, 100,000 points plus a 25,000 point global companion with $6,000 in spend. And then for Capital One, we still have the student cards as well as kind of the entry level cards of the Venture One, Quicksilver, and Saver cards. We don't have dates for those. And then Chase Sapphire Preferred, Reserve, and the Reserve Business all still have their stated bonuses. I will take this moment to point out something I ended up running into and something I was not prepared for. And so hopefully sharing this with you, maybe you all were aware of it and I was a bit behind. So I had mentioned before that both my wife and I have a Sapphire Preferred card. She is under 524. I am over 524. So the plan was going to be, based upon what I had been seeing and talked to a couple people about, was that she was going to downgrade her Sapphire Preferred, and she had the option of the Freedom card with the 1.5 rate on it, as far as 1.5x on all purchases. And then there was another card, but it was, I forget which one it was. It wasn't the Flex. She has a Flex card. She didn't have the option to get a second one. She has a Flex and a Freedom Unlimited. So they only offered basically the Freedom Unlimited. So she downgraded to that with the anticipation that she was going to go ahead and apply for the Sapphire Reserve. So when she did that, and she obviously kept the Sapphire number, the expectation was that, okay, maybe we need to give it a month or so before it doesn't really register that she still has a preferred. And because we were getting the pop-up to say that, yes, you can continue to apply, but you don't qualify for the bonus either because you've had the bonus with the reserve before, or you are a current Sapphire holder. So that we didn't see anything change. So she ended up calling Chase, and at least for this one person, and we're going to see if this is just somebody that didn't know what they were talking about. It wasn't something I was expecting, where the rep said that she actually cannot get the Sapphire Reserve with the welcome bonus for 24 months. I have no idea why that's the case. We each of us have had that Sapphire Preferred for over 4 years, and it's been more than 4 years since we got the bonus. Obviously, that's changed now. So right now, don't necessarily. So we dropped that, and so what she ended up turning around to do is we ended up deciding that she would go ahead and get the Alaska Airlines Summit credit card. So she got approved for that, and she still is under 524. So we may still look and see if the person was wrong, to see if she can still get the Sapphire Reserve, since that's not one I'm going to be able to get. So it's interesting as far as that. I don't know if anybody else had that conversion issue. My expectation was as long as you didn't have the welcome bonus from the reserve and you no longer had the preferred, that you would get the bonus. So that was an unfortunate thing that we ended up seeing, and we'll just have to kind of see what happens with it. But I wanted to kind of throw that out and see if other people, as they were exploring these options, had run into anything similar. So that's what we're seeing for that. Now, as far as Southwest, we still have that with all of the personal cards having the 100,000 points. I think Southwest is another interesting category where I think they really had a chance to really take a step up, to still have some unique quality to them that was different than the main leaders of Delta, American, and United, and really could carve out a really nice niche for them. But I think they really dropped the ball on these credit cards, that they jacked these rates up so much with not getting a whole lot from it, and the seating options. If they could have went to some kind of version of first class of some sort, as opposed to just getting extra leg room in being closer to the front, it's really made me look down on what's going to happen with Southwest. So curious if you all's thoughts about Southwest and being able to fly them. They really, because they fly to some very nice destinations, at least for vacationing standpoint, and around the country in the companion pass, I think they really just dropped the ball there and had an opportunity. I also would end up saying, if you are a person that is looking at the companion pass possibly for them, I think we're probably going to find out, not that I have any inside information by any means, but I think we're going to see where the option to be able to get that companion pass through credit card signing bonuses is not going to be here by the time we get to next year. I'm curious if you all thoughts on that. I think they're going to further consolidate that. So if you end up having an interest in a companion pass and your timing works out however you would like it to, I think you might want to look at that, because I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of options that will happen going forward as we go into the next few months. So that's just an opinion, but I'm curious of what you all's thoughts are. And so then we have, as far as Chase, the United Business credit cards. All of the personal United cards are now off the cycle, and so we just have the United Business cards remaining. Barclays, we have all three of the JetBlue cards, but I would hazard to say that the Plus card, at least at this moment, is really their best option as their $99 card. because of the multipliers and what it comes with versus the other ones that we see, especially on the Premier card. The Hawaiian Airlines card still should have the 80,000 mile promo where I mentioned that just put in any 6 digits. I haven't heard that it has not worked yet. So if you still are interested in that, that may be an option to get the 80,000 points. Citi, obviously, we still have the Strata Elite, as well as the American Airlines card. And then for Wells Fargo, the Privileges Mastercard, which I think is an excellent card if you are a Choice Privileges hotel person that utilizes it. And then Virgin Red still has their 60,000 boarding points available. Now, when we talk about the transfer bonuses, not surprising, we don't really have much right now. So Avianca is going to be ending shortly at 15% with Capital One. And then IHG is at 100% for Chase, September 4th. Obviously, those are not necessarily the greatest transfer bonuses to consider, but if you have topping off, that might be something to consider. And before we look at the points and miles opportunities, I see that Mr. Cool said, I got the Atmos Summit card thinking about getting that Hawaiian before the end of October. Maybe they will give us a nice sign-up bonus. I'm going to be curious if they will. I think that even though we know that the card is going to still be available past October, we don't know what date. And I think that the only reason that we're here seeing that the Hawaiian card is being considered to go past October, while we're hearing the rumors that the Aviator Red is going to end September 30th, is continuing to try to build that relationship and trust with the people of Hawaii, as they've really done an excellent job of trying to make sure that all of the different type of benefits that they were getting with Hawaiian that they get now. And I think the card is almost symbolic. So I'll be curious if they really do much more on bonuses with it, especially when if you're flying it, you can be able to get that promo at least as intended for the 80,000 points or miles. So I'll be curious if we do see a last splash. I'm probably leaning towards we probably will not, but I think that card will probably be good to hopefully the end of the year. So I think we'll have to kind of keep our eye on that and see what ends up happening, but could be right on that. And so let's go back to some points and miles opportunities. Now, as I talk about, these are just ones that are ending and ones that might have just came up for us to utilize. I always make sure to load up the description with almost all 5,000 characters that you can put in the description to have as many links there as possible, so that even if we're not talking about it, that it's in alphabetical order for you to be able to look at to see if there's something there that you may be interested in. But let's take a look at what we have. So Air Canada, we still have till September 10th with it, but I still have it up there because of that 85%, up to 85% bonus makes this really competitive at 1.46 cents per point. Once again, it's a baseline. You try to do the best you can with your redemption, and you make your own decision of what's really the best for you. The leading hotels of the world, I find that interesting because definitely not in my price range, but for a person that might be spending that much for hotels and really likes these luxury boutique ones, then even at this rate of being 6 cents per point, it still has a lot of value for people in that realm. Hyatt has a new one, which is the 20% off stays in Panama. Now, there is no promo code, so that's good. There are 4 hotels in Panama that period. And so all of them are applicable to this 20% off. And it's Dreams All-Inclusive Resort. And I think the way that they rate the quote unquote level of the is A, B through E, I believe. But so this is kind of in just above the entry level. Dreams, depending on where you're at, has a very good reputation for providing good quality service at the price. So that is available. There's the Hyatt Regency Panama City, which is a category 3. And then the Hotel La Campana, there's 2 of them, and those are category 5s. So if you are looking to do that, all you'll end up doing is going to, as far as looking at the rates, you should see the 20% off rate. Now that rate, you're going to have to pay attention to what day it is, because there probably will be some times where that is not your best rate, but it is available for all of those without a promo code. So that's always a good situation. Then we have Avianca through September 2nd, so right around the corner. You can buy miles with an up to 165% bonus, bringing that down to 1.25 cents per mile if you get it there. That ends up making it a very competitive rate if you're looking at the baseline. And then Southwest buying points, that ends on August 31st. Once again, for this one, that's really more of a top off. It's not a great rate for it, and it's really kind of hard to get a whole lot of value out of Southwest points. But if you need to be able to buy a few, this may be something that at least is there as a possibility. And then as far as a few of the quick notes that we have for today, United is going to be flying from Newark to Greenland. Now, they did that already, but they have now decided that they're going to return for next year. And last year, or this year, I'm sorry, was the first time of being there since 2007. As show you my ignorance as far as how far Greenland was from Newark, it's only a 4-hour flight to Nuuk. So I think that it's something that if they continue to do that, would make it very interesting, that I would consider doing it, because the landscape, when you look at it, really just is very different than any place I've been to or seen. So I'm curious if that is something that might be not necessarily on a bucket list, but something of interest that you might be looking at as far as Nuuk, Greenland. So the last flights for 2025 are going to be September 23rd to Greenland, and then September 24th for the return. Now, as part of United's kind of expanding itself, they did have some other inaugural flights this year, and that was Bilbao, Spain, Palermo, Sicily, Dakar in Senegal, and then Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia. So other areas that kind of flew underneath the radar compared to Greenland. Then we have Chicago. O'Hare is breaking ground on their new Concourse D. Now they're going to have 19 new gates with that, as well as 30,000 square feet of commercial space, 20,000 of lounge space, and the Concourse is expected to be done not obviously in this year or next, but I think 2028, if we get that there. Make sure to get that bigger. Sorry about that. In 2028. Now, we're so far out that we don't know what that 20,000 square feet of lounge space means. I'm hoping that one major player goes in there and takes the 20,000 square feet, as opposed to chopping it up, where then you really have just small ones that fill up and are going to get to capacity real fast. Then we'll go with United again, and as far as supersonic flight. So there is a company called Astromechanica, and they are pursuing supersonic flight. United Airlines has a venture capital arm, which is United Air Venture, and they are a new investor in that company. Now, they have a Duality is the name of their engine, which is a hybrid electric engine that is expected to go to Mach 3. They are really focusing, as far as Astromechanica is focusing on getting business with the military, which is not surprising. And so the commercial side is going to be way down the line. But I thought it was interesting, one, that I had never really heard of their venture capital arm, even though it's not surprising that they would have one, and where they decided they put their money. Definitely a long-term play for potential access to supersonic technology. And then as far as advantage transfers, now when it came to Citi, we knew that they initially started with American Airlines only being able to transfer buy their big cards, the Prestige, which obviously unless you have it, you can't get it. The Strata Elite now, and the Strata Premier, which is the $95 kind of entry level travel credit card. They have now made it available for the Thank You Preferred card, which is one you can't get anymore. The Citi Strata, the Citi Double Cash, and the Citi Custom Cash, which are all no annual fee cards. So that sounded good at the beginning, but they are going to be at a 1 to 0.7 ratio. So 1,000 of your thank you points to get 700 American airline miles, while the other cards will be able to do it at a 1-to-1. So now, obviously, if you have one of those, you can roll your thank you points up to be able to get it at a 1-to-1. I find it interesting, and I wonder how long that will continue. Probably a bit disconcerting, but I know that they obviously are trying to do their best to manage this great option that they have, tool to be able to get people to get the premier cards to get access to American Airlines. But probably would be a little bit disappointed if I was a person that had been with Citi for a bit, even if it's a no annual fee card. Then we have Delta 12 status. Now, Delta is the official airline of the Seattle Seahawks, and this is a promotion specific to the residents of the state of Washington. You do need to enroll, but once you do, you will earn 1 Delta mile for every passing yard for the Seattle Seahawks NFL team. And you'll also get 12% on the 12th of each month at the Seahawks Pro Shop at the stadium, and they also have one other location within the state of Washington, and you'll get Zone 5 priority boarding. So if you live in the state of Washington, why not? Might as well pick up some additional points just for the heck of it. So those are all options that would be available to you. So let's touch on some of the news for today. So the first thing that I saw was interesting was Southwest's policy on additional seat is changing. Now, this is for people that might need more than one seat for reasons that we know about. And I did not know how policy was for Southwest, but it was quite liberal, and that is changing, which is not surprising keeping in mind what they are doing with their seating. So the current policy that Southwest has is one of the most customer friendly in the industry. And they basically what they're doing is they encourage you as a flyer, as a passenger, that if you feel you need an extra seat, to pre-purchase the seat ahead of time. Once again, encouraging, not requiring. And they would basically provide you a refund. If a refund of the extra seat is offered after the date of travel, as long as you request it. Now, if you didn't pre-purchase the seat, and this is the reason why most people didn't pre-purchase the seats, then if there was an empty seat, it was offered to you at no charge. So why not gamble, especially if you can get an idea of how many people might be flying. Now, if there were no extra seats and you did require one, then you would basically be rebooked on another flight. Well, that's going to change on January 27th of 2026. And that ties in with the assigned seating. So that's not surprising, because they obviously need to make sure that even when there's empty seats, that they are going to be catering to people that have the ability to get that seat, whether it's through status or credit cards. So now what it will end up being at that point is that people who need an extra seat will be required, not encouraged, to purchase an extra seat prior to flying. Empty seats will no longer be offered at the gate. And if it is determined at the gate that an additional seat is needed, and that can be determined by the passenger or the people at the gate, then the passenger is going to be charged the current rate. Now, obviously, we all know that if you are talking about paying for a flight same day, let alone 1 hour, possibly before, you're going to be paying a super high amount. So that is going to be there in which obviously penalizes the person from possibly not doing a pre-purchase. And also, if you are entitled to a refund of that seat, then what will end up happening is that you must request it within 90 days. Previously, Southwest was very customer friendly, and we'll say, was that there was no timeline or deadline. So now we have that with Southwest. So I thought that was interesting as far as policy changing for that. Now let's move to JetBlue. And JetBlue, which I did not necessarily know, JetBlue has a lot of different partnerships because they're not necessarily part of an alliance. But I wasn't really aware of Condor, that they had a partnership, but they are now expanding that partnership, which is a positive for JetBlue members. So as of this week, you can now earn and redeem your TrueBlue points on Condor. Now, currently there are currently nonstop flights to Frankfurt in Germany from the following U.S. locations: Anchorage, Alaska, Boston, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Miami, New York City, Portland, San Francisco, and Seattle. So there's a lot of places to be able to potentially utilize this. The rates seem to be really good, I think, on this. So if you're flying from JFK to Frankfurt, it's 19,000 TrueBlue points one way in economy, 34,000 points in premium, and then business would be 54,000 points one way. Now, these TrueBlue points can be earned on cash fares if you're flying on Condor. Now, after looking at the partners that JetBlue has, it's kind of a hodgepodge of what comes with each of them. So they have dozens of them, but not all of them are earn and redeem partners. So for instance, Japan Airlines is a redeem only for their TrueBlue points, while African Airway, JSX, and Singapore Airlines are just earn only partnerships. And the earn and redeem ones that now Condor has is also with Etihad, Iceland, Qatar, Iceland, and TAP Portugal. Now, if you're as far as elite status though, while the points can be earned on Condor, it will not help you to earn mosaic tiles related to elite status. But I think that's clearly a point, a move in the right direction anytime where we get to see that points can be used to earn and redeem on different airlines. So we do have that with JetBlue and Condor. Then we have to talk about a devaluation that is going to happen with Singapore Airlines and dynamic pricing that we're going to be seeing on that. And obviously we see devaluations constantly with airlines and the hotels, which is part of the reason why we never really want to hoard points unless we are working towards something. So for me, I will, because of the amount of points that I earn, which is not a whole bunch every month, they're ones where I will plan and start building points up for a year, maybe even a year and a half, depending on where I'm going for different vacations and such. But outside of that, you need to go ahead and utilize them. It's easy to kind of get enamored at how many points or miles you have in different areas. I must admit, I've been caught kind of enjoying when I was over 1 million points and miles spread out amongst different areas. But it's all about you using them to really enjoy your time, whether it's going to be a short trip in economy someplace, or you're opening up the bank to go first class or business class international. So just as a reminder, as far as devaluations. So here's what's going to happen with these devaluations. So Saver Awards, which obviously, as we know, are really the lowest priced tickets that we're normally able to work with when we're dealing with points as far as Saver Awards. And they are ones that that are limited in different levels depending upon what airline you're talking about. So for zone 1 through 9, which is basically within Asia and Southwest Pacific, it's basically a 5% decrease on the economy flights, and then a 5% increase on the business and first class flights. And then zone 10 is where the biggest jump happens. And these are flights to and from Africa, the Middle East, and Turkey. And so these will be increasing between 10 to 20%. Zone 11 through 13, which includes flights to and from Europe and the United States, it's only an increase of 5%. Now, when it comes to Advantage Awards, this is ones where essentially the next step up from Saver Awards. They cost more than Saver Awards, but there's normally more of that seating that is available, and that's why you're paying more. But the other part of it that you need to be aware of is the fact that Advantage Awards, when you're doing a round trip flight, you are allowed 2 stopovers. And that is not something that comes with being on a Saver Award. So even if it costs a little bit more, there are definitely some incentives to being able to utilize it. And obviously, using those stopovers can really expand how good that trip that you're looking at could be. So now the Advantage Awards, we're going to go up 10 to 15% increase. But on Zone 10, which is the one that obviously has the highest window, it's going to be the highest on this as well. Business will go up 18%, and first class will go up 15%. Now, if you're a Star Alliance Partner Award, it's going to be 10% increase. And then upgrades, 5 to 10% for those. Obviously, for a lot of airlines, using points on the upgrades is not the best one and doesn't necessarily relate to the best one for Singapore, but that is an option for you. Now, one thing that they are going to have now is access redemptions, and it's going to allow you to use points for the dynamically priced tickets when there are not award seats available. Now, don't really know how good of a deal this will be. We really don't have any numbers of what's anticipated for that, but it's another option. We just don't know how good the option may or may not be. So if you're a person that's looking at Singapore Airlines, those are the things that you want to keep your eye on. Now, you do have time. I believe I should have had it down on here. I believe it's at the beginning of November that this is going to start. So devaluations are always going to occur. I think the key is that when these different entities, these airlines and hotels, when they give us a heads up on them, that's what makes the biggest difference. And I definitely point to Hyatt as the perfect example for that. We know that each year we're going to find out in the spring and get a full list of all of the hotels that are going to go up or down, and we get about a month to 2 months to be able to still get a chance at the best rate for that year. And I think that it would be nice if more would do that, but I really love that they do that. And I definitely have saved money with those options. And so as long as we get a little bit of a heads up, I think that still works in our favor because these are inevitable anyway. And so let's take a look at, I see Ian, sorry to be late. Thanks for the news. Nope, never an apology. We're doing this on a Saturday, and I appreciate you taking some of your time to pop in here for a bit of the news that we've got for the day for this. So thank you for stopping through. Now, if you're a person that flies American Airlines, obviously Charlotte ends up being the second busiest airport in their network and has been in need of doing some upgrades. And we are now knowing that it's coming, but we just don't know when. So they are going to have the Flagship Lounge come to Charlotte, and they say they are going to increase the Admirals Club footprint over there. Now, to this point, Charlotte has been the only international hub for American Airlines that has not had a Flagship Lounge, which has been a bit strange for a lot of people. It is, as I mentioned, it's the second busiest lounge in their I'm sorry, not second busiest lounge, busiest airport in the network, right behind Dallas-Fort Worth, DFW. Now, they currently have 2 Admiral Club lounges and a recently opened Provisions by Admirals Club. And Provisions is basically kind of a stop and pick up something and leave. No tables. It's just really kind of like United's United Fly, I forget the exact name of it, but it's kind of the thing where obviously when you're able to come pick up something and leave, they do have an attendant there that can help you with some activity related to your tickets and such. So that's a nice touch there. But we're short on details of this. We don't know if this is going to be all new space. Are they going to repurpose some of the space so that the net increase is still a bit limited? and we don't have a timeline yet. So we're going to have to kind of keep an eye out for that, but we don't have much to go on. We just know what's coming. And so obviously anytime that we see the lounges get additions, it's always a positive thing. So let's touch a little bit on September Bilt Rent Day. And for those that have done the rent day before, it's probably not much has changed, but we do need to talk about redemption, which someone raised earlier. And I'm curious on it because it's not something I was aware of, and I am not a platinum member. I'm gold, at least at this moment, although I may be dropping down and looking at what I need to do to keep gold. But we'll touch on that in a bit. So the biggest things to keep in mind with Bilt Rent Day is that all of the multipliers outside of rent doubles. So you've got your dining that will go from 3x to 6x, travel goes from 2x to 4x, and then the 1x on everything else becomes 2x. Now you do have to do a 5 transaction minimum, and if you've been keeping up with Bilt at all, it has been the bane of their existence as far as how they can be able to make money on this, because a lot of people, as in their words, not mine, were gaming the system by buying very small individual purchases for those 5 transactions just to trigger it. As I've said before, I've not really understood why that was necessary, unless you really have a good assortment of credit cards that everything you get can really get maximized. And there's a lot of people that do, so it's not me saying that that's not the case. But a lot of my spend, like if I'm paying for car insurance or something, it's normally just a 2x credit card. And if Bilt can be a 2x credit card on Bilt Rent Day, then I might as well use the Bilt because I like their transfer partners. So I've never had an issue with the 5 transaction minimum. It's just part of the deal, and I do it on rent day. So I think that for people that do get involved in in that whole thing, is to look at what the options may be. And we've seen how Bilt has stumbled around this problem from showing us that they were going to supposedly getting our opinion on the 3 different cards, but then we really knew it was already kind of etched in stone what they were going to do. Wells Fargo drops out. You got a new bank coming in. So they're going to be going through a lot of upheaval as we go into next year. And they're going to probably have to tweak those cards a bit, because most people that I've talked to, and probably that you've seen, were not really that enamored by the higher price cards. And really the no annual fee card, once again, probably looks fine. So, but that's what we got for that. Now, so maximize your expenditures on rent day to qualify for that. So September 1st, and once again, as a reminder that Bilt does an interesting thing with their time. So it begins at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but it ends at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So you are getting probably more than you're getting more than the 24 hours. So make sure to be able to use it. You can earn up to 1,000 bonus points these days with this. Now, as far as for the other components of it, the only things that I want to make sure to touch on is a lot of people do forget about the complimentary fitness add-ons. So these are ones that are not specific to rent day. They're ones that you can get essentially all the time. And whether it's berries for the complimentary shake, and also if you pay attention, especially on this slide, you can get 2 to 3x Bilt points with the purchases that you do with this. And if you are into your fitness and one of these places are nearby, it can end up working out. Anywhere from a complimentary yoga mat and towel rental at Core Power Yoga to the complimentary shoe rental and bottle of water at Soul Cycle. So just always be aware of this when it comes to these fitness add-ons, even if the vendor is not one of the quote unquote highlighted ones. These people are still running these deals and can end up saving you a good amount of money. And then as far as berries and Soul Cycle continue to be the ones right now that you're seeing for these as the featured items. SoulCycle obviously has been doing theirs since the beginning, seemingly. The only thing you want to keep in mind with SoulCycle, if you're reserving it, you have to make sure that you attend it, because there is no refund on your cost. You will be paying the cost no matter what on that. So let's move to the transfer bonuses and what's coming with it. So what I had seen, and based upon what my rate was, you can get up to a 100% transfer bonus. I had thought that it was dynamic, meaning that it just depended what you got, regardless of what your ranking was. Now, I know that it was mentioned earlier as a platinum that they saw a 100%. I'm curious if that is specific to being platinum or if it was specific to you for that. For me, as gold, I only got 40%. I wonder, I'm not surprised to a certain extent because of it being dynamic, because I haven't used my Bilt card really at all for probably 2 to 3 months for that. I've spent other places. So if someone is seeing that platinums are getting him period by that, then that's great. I am definitely not a fan of this dynamic of who gets as far as that what you earned for status doesn't mean anything of what you're going to get, and it just depends on you as an individual. Not fond of that at all. I don't think that it ends up making, for me as a person that has gold status, makes me not, it becomes less of a value to me. So something to keep in mind in regards to it. That would be an interesting aspect. So that's what we have for the Virgin Red. So as far as transferring, if it is the dynamic way that I'm talking about, then everybody's got to make their own decision of what it can do. But if you're not as familiar with Virgin Red is really just kind of the updated version of the Virgin Atlantic points that you would be able to get, the Virgin points you would get. And they did it as they expanded from just the airlines to now cruises and hotels. And I think that probably at some point soon we'll probably see the Virgin points go away and just be Virgin Red. But they're one-to-one transfers, so you can move them around without any problems. They are easy to use, and because of Virgin having options in hotels, cruises, and airlines, they can be very useful to be able to do as far as transfers. So that may be an option for you to be able to look at with those, but I'm sure it will depend upon what you're seeing as far as your redemption rate. Now, what they also are doing is they are giving automatic Virgin Cruise match status. So if you are a silver or gold Bilt member, you're going to be getting Virgin Voyages Blue Extras category of perks. Now, that normally comes when you have 3 to 4 cruises with Virgin. Now, what you get from just quote unquote the average person that is under 3 cruises, you get to attend a cocktail event, and you can get 1 bag of laundry done at no cost to you. If you are platinum, you're going to get Virgin Voyages Deep Blue Extras, which is their highest tier for people that are doing 5 cruises or more. And you'll get a $100 bar tab credit total. That's not something you will necessarily get. Well, I'm sorry, it's included with that. You'll also get additional cleanings of your clothes beyond the 1 bag of laundry. So some press coverage that you might need. And then you get priority boarding. Unfortunately, you don't get priority to leave the boat, but you do get the priority boarding to get on. So that's somewhat beneficial. And then as far as their event that they have going on, David Portnoy, who is the person that runs Barstool Sports, they've got the One Bite Pizza Festival there on Randall's Island in New York on September 13th. Now, right now, as before I got on, it is 87% sold out. It's 40 plus of the world's best pizza makers that are there for that day. The cost for a ticket through Bilt is $150 or 10,000 Bilt points, and that is for an all-you-can-eat pass as well as a drink ticket. But I think the key for this one, as far as what makes it worth it, although all-you-can-eat pizzas, definitely nothing wrong with that, is that you get to have access to the pasta shop by Lucali, and he has a famous three cheese fusilli, and that is going to be just for Bilt members. Now, I've not had that fusilli, but I've read, after I was reading this, I read a bit, really well thought of, but that is what comes with your $150 ticket. So something to keep in mind for that as far as what the ticket cost is. Now, what they are also doing, and this is part of that home away from home promotion that they are really trying to work on, and this is a concert series. And so at the Bowie House is a auberge, I believe, resorts collection, and it's in Fort Worth, Texas. So what you can do is you can attend the concert series, and it's for Grammy Award winner Leon Bridges, and it includes a 60-minute acoustic set that they'll do. This is going to be a small number of people that can be able to attend it. You'll get a drink ticket as well as access to the concert, and that is for $400 or 25,000 Bilt points. Now, if you are a gold or platinum member, you can also be able to book a stay there at the Bowie House during Bowie House during that time. So that is an option for you as well. And what you'll get is essentially what I would call fine hotel and resorts treatment through, as you would see from American Express Platinum, which would be the $100 hotel credit, the potential to upgrade to a higher level room, as well as check in and check out type of situation, potential benefits. So those are all options that you'll end up having for that as well. So those are the things that come with Rent Day. A little anticlimactic, unfortunately, but Virgin has really been pushing these Virgin cruises we've seen for months, whether it's for this kind of status match. We had a long period of time where you could be able to get on different cruises with some different benefits, 2-for-1s, additional perks that was being done with it. So I've not been on a Virgin cruise. I'm curious if any of you all have. I've, at least from what I've seen, I've kind of heard more mixed reviews for those for those cruises. So I'm curious if you all have seen better for that. So that's kind of what we have as far as the Bilt Rent Day. I do want to kind of provide a couple of pieces of information related to the channel. So number one, I will be releasing a video right after this, and it will basically be the Rakuten credit card with the American Express green card and what that combination can end up doing. I think it's going to be an underrated kind of duo that can really generate a lot of membership reward points with a total net amount of only $150. So if you are a person that's into the membership rewards game, and let alone if you are a person that uses Rakuten, and I'm more and more amazed each day of what all Rakuten does have some multipliers on all over the place, not just stores, but different services. And I think that'll be something that's beneficial. The other thing is you can look to see more videos coming out as I've kind of smoothed some things out. And then lastly, I want to be able to say that in the beginning, the second week of September, I'm going to have a essentially beginners series to points and miles. Now, I know a lot of you all have done points and miles and been able to do different redemptions, but this is kind of a thing that's kind of been in my heart for a bit, because for me, I've been in points and miles really only for about 2 to 3 years, and been on YouTube for about a year, give or take. And I just know for me, and probably you all have experienced it too, working full time, Wife and I work full time. So it's limited dollars that we have available. I don't have a great amount of spend to just rack up points. And I have limited time to be able to take different trips. And so points and miles for me and my wife and my family are things that I even if I could have done it, I wouldn't have done it because the price was just too much to consider. That points and miles has just put as an option for me. And I just want people to be able to not to at least have all the information they can to make their own decision. There'll be some people that will not be interested in doing points and miles because they're not comfortable with credit cards and such. And part of this will even be for people that even if you're not ready for the credit cards yet, because you do obviously have to get that FICO score to a certain level. But I think a lot of people don't realize that you're not looking to get, you don't have to have an 850 or even an 800 to be able to get qualified for good cards, and that you don't have to pay money for these credit cards. You don't need a premium credit card that's costing you $700-800. Even if you can just be able to get a $95 credit card, a Sapphire Preferred, a City Strata City Strata Premier, a City Strata Premier, a Venture credit card. There's a lot of different options to be able to do something. So I'm going to make sure to kind of have that out there. I'll be beginning the second week, I'll do 2 videos a week just on this 8-part series that we'll be doing. And then each Saturday, I'll recap what we did in the 2 episodes, I'll call them episodes, that was done that week, as well as take questions as far as just what people may be looking to try to do, kind of walk through some of the issues or concerns that they're seeing, and we'll just kind of see how it goes. But it's something that's been on my heart for a bit of time to do something like this. And even if nobody ends up doing it, as far as getting into points and miles that weren't in it before, I'm okay with that. I just want people to be fully informed on what the options are for them and to dispel or demystify any of the things that come with it. So if there's anyone that you have in your life, and I know I do, even with me doing this channel, that just don't feel comfortable with it, I'm hoping that this series might help people to just at least explore it. So look forward to being able to do that. And if you all have thoughts or suggestions that from your experience of what might have slowed you down from getting into it, or what things caused you concerns initially, let me know in the comment section. I've written up most of the scripts for this, but I'm taking time to kind of tweak things, and I wanted to get you all's thoughts and input as well. You all live it, and even if you've been a seasoned veteran for decades, most of us can still remember, I'm sure, of what's might have slowed us down or some of the issues that caused some consternation regarding it. So please take time to share with me in the comment section. I'd really appreciate that. And if there's not any other thoughts or concerns on anything that we got going on today, I will definitely release you all to be able to, if you're a college football fan, to jump back into it. And thank you all so much for supporting the channel, and thanks for taking part of your Saturday, depending on where you're located, your Saturday with me. So you all have a great day, and I will talk with you soon.